Chicago rapper Durk Banks, better known by his stage name Lil Durk, was arrested yesterday after allegedly attempting to flee the country, and at this time he's being held in a Broward County jail in Florida, awaiting transfer to the U.S. Marshals. According to the FBI affidavit, the Grammy Award-winning rapper is charged with conspiracy to commit murder for hire.
No one expected the situation to spiral like this. What started as a simple card issue linked to Lil Durk, something fans thought was minor, maybe even exaggerated, has now exploded into one of the most shocking twists of the year. Overnight, reports surfaced claiming that the FBI, while digging into Durk's financial inconsistencies, stumbled across something far more disturbing, a trail that allegedly connects back to the late King Von. And just like that, the entire hip-hop world went silent. People who thought this was just another Rappermony rumor are now realizing the stakes are much higher. This isn't about credit cards. This is about federal investigators, sealed documents, unexplained transfers, and conversations the public was never supposed to hear about. And once King Von's name appeared in the back end of the investigation, everything changed. The narrative shifted from Durk might be in trouble to there's a deeper story nobody was ready for. For years, fans believed the tragedies and legal dramas surrounding Von and Durk were separate events, coincidences, accidents, unfortunate timing. But now, the FBI's findings are raising chilling questions. Why did certain financial movements overlap with Von's timeline? Why are investigators looking at people who were around both men during crucial moments? And more importantly, why is everyone involved suddenly going quiet? The internet is on fire, trying to connect the dots, but every answer leads to another mystery. Old interviews are resurfacing. Past warnings are now being viewed in a new light. People are pulling up tweets, court reports, and leaked messages, realizing there may have been a bigger picture all along, one that the public never saw. And Durk, his team is scrambling. Some sources say his lawyers are preparing. Others say this was never supposed to come out. But when the FBI gets involved, secrets don't stay buried for long, especially when their investigation touches someone as influential and as controversial as King Von. This isn't drama anymore. This is federal. This is serious. This is a story that might rewrite everything fans thought they knew about Durk, Von OTF, and the people around them. And the craziest part? This is only the beginning. The story broke unexpectedly, and almost immediately, social media was set ablaze. What began as whispers about Lil Durk's so-called card issue had exploded into a full-blown scandal when reports emerged that the FBI had become involved. For weeks, fans had speculated about minor financial mishaps, missed payments, disputed transactions, or mysterious card activity, but no one imagined it would escalate to federal scrutiny. Even more shocking was the revelation that investigators had uncovered potential connections to the late King Von. Suddenly, what seemed like a straightforward issue had turned into a tangled web involving two of hip-hop's most talked about figures. The initial reports came from insiders who claimed that the FBI noticed unusual financial patterns linked to Durk's accounts. Transfers, purchases, and card activity that once seemed routine were now under the microscope, traced back to interactions with Von's associates during the months leading up to his death. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was a full investigation. And in an industry where secrecy is often the key to survival, this revelation was a bombshell. Fans began speculating immediately. Why would federal agents link Lil Durk to King Von's world? Was this about money, influence, or something deeper? What made this situation even more explosive was timing. King Von's tragic passing had left questions unanswered, relationships strained, and tensions high within OTF and the broader hip-hop community. Now, almost 2 years later, the FBI reportedly had evidence suggesting financial and transactional overlaps that could potentially shed new light on events. surrounding Von's last months. Social media exploded with theorists combing through old clips, interviews, and public posts, trying to connect dots that no one had previously noticed. Every gesture, every comment, and every financial anomaly began to take on a new meaning. Fans weren't just discussing money, they were speculating about hidden alliances, trust issues, and unseen pressures in the streets and the studio, sources close to Durk suggested that his team had been aware of the card issue internally, but were unprepared for how quickly federal attention escalated. Lawyers, financial advisors, and associates reportedly held emergency meetings, attempting to trace the exact flow of funds and interactions that might have triggered the investigation. The stakes were high. Unlike ordinary celebrity gossip, this involved federal scrutiny, which meant privacy, reputation, and even legal freedom were at risk. Suddenly, a problem that could have been handled quietly had become public, and the ripple effects were immediate. Meanwhile, fans and bloggers combed through old content. They rewatched interviews where Durk hinted at financial headaches, revisited Von's last videos, and analyzed social media posts from associates. Every detail seemed connected under this new lens. Some speculated that these financial connections could reveal motives, hidden pressures, or relationships that previously went unnoticed. Old tweets from Durk, cryptic comments on Instagram, and even minor interactions in the studio began trending again, all interpreted as pieces of a larger, more intricate puzzle. The combination of federal investigation and King Von's name created unprecedented tension. While most hip-hop drama stays within social media, this story crossed into real-world consequences. Fans began demanding updates, while insiders scrambled to prepare statements or deflect scrutiny. Everyone suddenly understood the severity. This wasn't just a card problem. It wasn't just a financial issue. It was a potential window into previously hidden connections between Durk and Von's world. Connections that could change how the public perceives both artists and the dynamics around OTF. Even the mainstream media quickly picked up on the story. Headlines screamed about FBI investigations, mysterious transfers, and King Von connections. Podcasts and news outlets debated what this meant, while social media influencers churned out theories at lightning speed. Every rumor, every screenshot, and every partial leak added fuel to a story that was now out of anyone's control. The public was hooked, waiting for the next piece of information, the next reveal, the next confirmation. And as night fell, the pressure continued to mount. Lil Durk's team was working tirelessly behind the scenes, but the internet was already drawing its own conclusions. Speculation about Von's estate, OTF associates, and past conflicts dominated conversations. And while the story was only beginning, everyone knew one thing for certain. The FBI's involvement had transformed what seemed like a minor card problem into a potentially explosive scandal with nationwide attention. And the connections to King Von ensured that no one in hip-hop could stay silent. The FBI's involvement transformed a seemingly minor insignificant financial issue into something much bigger. And almost immediately, the energy in the hip-hop world shifted. Fans who had once joked about Lil Durk's card problem now spoke in hushed tones, realizing that federal authorities were involved. Investigators reportedly began scrutinizing every transaction, every transfer, and every account linked not only to Durk, but also to associates connected to the late King Von. This wasn't ordinary financial oversight. This was a targeted investigation that could reveal hidden connections, motives, or even previously unknown alliances. And the fact that Von's name appeared in the FBI documents instantly turned speculation into serious concern. Sources close to Durk revealed that the team initially thought the issue could be resolved quietly. A few suspicious transactions, easily explained. But as the investigation progressed, agents discovered patterns aligning with key events in Von's timeline. Large transfers, sudden cash movements, and unexplained purchases coincided with interactions involving Von's inner circle. The FBI reportedly took note of these patterns because they suggested more than simple financial mismanagement. They hinted at connections and coordination that had never been public. Every move Durk made was being traced, cross-referenced with Von-related activity, and analyzed for potential implications. Meanwhile, fans and social media sleuths jumped into action. Every old tweet, Instagram post, or public comment from Durk or Von was dissected in the context of the FBI investigation. Clips where Von appeared frustrated or cautious were suddenly viewed as potential warnings. Posts about loyalty, betrayal, and trust were scrutinized as if they contained hidden messages for investigators. Even minor interactions between OTF members and Von's associates were revisited, creating a complex timeline that many felt had been intentionally hidden from the public. Social media was buzzing with speculation, with users attempting to map the connections between financial activity, personal relationships, and key events in both Durk and Von's lives at the same time. The industry reacted cautiously. Lawyers, managers, and insiders were holding back channels, discussing potential fallout and preparing for media scrutiny. Some suggested that Durk's team had underestimated how quickly a financial anomaly could escalate into a federal investigation. Others feared the investigation might drag Von's estate into a legal battle it was not prepared for. The story was no longer confined to social media rumors. It had real-world consequences that could affect reputations, assets, and legal standing for everyone involved. Industry insiders also indicated that federal agents were particularly focused on patterns of communication and association, messages between Durk, Von's associates, and third parties were reportedly being examined to see whether they indicated planning, coordination, or hidden exchanges that could explain the unusual financial activity. This meant that even private conversations, once considered irrelevant, were now potentially significant. Analysts and bloggers began theorizing that certain warnings Von had expressed publicly were more than just casual observations. They could have been signals, tied to deeper tensions that nobody outside the circle had been aware of. As the story gained traction, old footage resurfaced. Fans dug up interviews, studio clips, and behind-the-scenes videos, trying to connect dots that were previously ignored. Observers noted subtle hints in Von's behavior, cryptic messages in social media posts, and even patterns of associates disappearing or appearing at key moments. Each observation fueled speculation that the FBI investigation was uncovering something far more intricate than a simple financial error. The deeper the details were analyzed, the clearer it became that the investigation could potentially reveal the true complexity of relationships, loyalties, and conflicts surrounding Durk, Von, and OTF. Even mainstream media caught wind of the story. Headlines focused on the FBI and the connection to King Von, amplifying the pressure on everyone involved. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and blogs speculated on motives, the nature of the financial discrepancies, and what these connections could mean legally and personally for Durk. Each new leak or insider tip became viral fodder, intensifying public scrutiny and speculation. Fans were increasingly convinced that what had seemed like a minor financial matter was actually tied to far more serious dynamics behind the scenes. By the end of the day, a narrative had completely shifted. Lil Durk's card issue was no longer just a story about money. It had become a potential window into hidden relationships, untold motives, and secrets connected to King Von. Fans were left questioning everything they thought they knew, and insiders were scrambling to manage the fallout. The FBI's presence ensured that no detail was too small and no connection too private. And as the investigation deepened, it became increasingly clear. The story was far from over. As the FBI investigation deepened, the tension surrounding Lil Durk escalated to unprecedented levels. What began as a seemingly minor card issue had transformed into a full-blown federal inquiry, and every move Durk made was under microscopic scrutiny. Investigators weren't just looking at isolated transactions, they were connecting dates, amounts, and interactions with associates tied to King Von. Suddenly, a web of financial, social, and personal connections was emerging, suggesting that Durk's card activity might reveal more than the public ever imagined. Fans, insiders, and analysts alike began piecing together old footage, social media posts, and interviews to try and understand what the FBI had uncovered. Industry insiders revealed that the TH agency was particularly focused on transaction patterns that coincided with critical moments in Von's timeline. Certain purchases and cash flows matched days leading up to events in Von's final months. Agents reportedly examined these in conjunction with communications between Durk and Von's close circle. The connections weren't immediately obvious to the public, but to federal authorities. Even small anomalies became significant indicators of larger networks of influence, loyalty, and potentially concealed activity. Social media exploded as fans noticed the subtle coincidences themselves, posts, comments, and behavior that suddenly seemed meaningful under this new lens. Old interviews resurfaced, too. Clips where Von discussed trust, loyalty, and warning signs began circulating again, now being interpreted as possible signals about internal conflicts or financial dealings that nobody had publicly acknowledged. Analysts suggested that some of Durk's previous statements about stress or issues with associates may not have been casual remarks at all. They could have been indirect references to the very financial and relational complexities now being investigated. The speculation was explosive. If federal authorities were scrutinizing these connections, it could reveal hidden alliances, rivalries, and previously untold pressures that shaped the last months of Von's life. The FBI's focus extended beyond just the financial side. Sources indicated that investigators were examining communication channels between Durk and Von's associates, including texts, calls, and digital transactions. Every detail, even minor interactions, was being mapped to create a timeline that connected Durk to Von's world in ways the public had never considered. Industry insiders expressed concern that private conversations, once deemed insignificant, could now carry legal implications. Some associates of both artists reportedly began quietly distancing themselves or taking precautions, aware that the investigation could uncover connections that were previously hidden from view. At the same time, social media speculation intensified. Fans created timelines, charts, and breakdowns connecting card activity to public appearances, studio sessions, and key events in Von's final months. Bloggers, podcasters, and analysts debated whether these were coincidences or signs of something more deliberate. Every detail from minor transfers to seemingly casual interactions was being dissected for potential significance. The narrative that had once been confined to rumors about a card issue had now evolved into a complex story involving financial anomalies, federal investigations, and the haunting legacy of King Von. Even mainstream media couldn't ignore the story. Headlines screamed about the FBI's involvement and the potential connections to Von, amplifying the pressure on everyone involved. Podcasts and video commentators dissected every public statement from Durk, revisiting older interviews and social media content for hidden clues. The tension was palpable. Insiders scrambled to manage both legal and reputational risks, while fans and observers speculated about what could be revealed next. Every new leak, every cryptic social media post, and every resurfaced clip added fuel to the growing fire. By now, it was clear that this investigation could not be contained. What began as a minor issue had exposed layers of complexity connecting Lil Durk to Von's circle in ways no one had anticipated. Questions about loyalty, financial transparency, and hidden motives dominated conversations online and offline. Federal scrutiny meant that nothing was truly private anymore. And even long-standing relationships were being reevaluated under a microscope. The tension was only growing, and with every passing hour, the stakes became higher for Durk, for Von's legacy, and for everyone involved in their world. And as fans waited for the next development, one thought dominated the conversation. This story was far from over, and the FBI's involvement suggested that the truth behind Lil Durk's card activity and King Von's connection could reshape the entire narrative of both artists' lives. As the FBI investigation gained momentum, the atmosphere around Lil Durk's situation grew increasingly tense. What had begun as a seemingly minor card issue had evolved into a high-stakes federal inquiry, one that carried serious implications for Durk and anyone connected to King Von. Insiders revealed that agents were meticulously reviewing every transaction, every communication, and every interaction tied to Durk's accounts, looking for patterns that might indicate more than financial mismanagement. The connections to Von's circle were particularly scrutinized, as investigators sought to understand the potential relationships, obligations, or exchanges that had been hidden from public view. Industry insiders began to notice subtle shifts in behavior. Certain associates who had previously been outspoken were suddenly quiet. Legal teams were scrambling behind closed doors, not only to defend against the potential financial implications, but also to anticipate how the connection to Von could affect public perception. Rumors spread that agents were particularly interested in patterns surrounding Von's last months, a timeline that many assumed was private and inaccessible. Suddenly, the public realized that Durk and Von's lives, once thought separate in the aftermath of Von's passing, were now intertwined in a way that demanded federal attention. Meanwhile, social media erupted. Fans and bloggers combed through every old post, comment, and interview, attempting to draw correlations between Durk's card activity and Von's final days. Every studio session, public appearance, or cryptic post was analyzed for hidden meaning. Speculation ran rampant. Were some transactions linked to events leading to Von's death? Were messages or financial transfers evidence of coordination, loyalty, or unseen pressure? Observers dissected Durk's Instagram stories, Von's interviews, and even minor mentions by OTF affiliates, turning what was once mundane into potentially critical evidence. The narrative had shifted from financial gossip to a complex investigation into loyalty, influence, and untold connections. Insiders indicated that investigators were not only reviewing money flows but also scrutinizing the digital footprint. Texts, calls, and online transactions were being mapped against key moments in Von's timeline. The FBI reportedly focused on patterns that seemed too coordinated to be coincidental. Even minor interactions between Durk and Von's associates were considered relevant, suggesting that behind-the-scenes relationships could reveal motives or insights previously obscured. The fact that federal authorities were involved meant that what had seemed private was now subject to legal scrutiny, putting pressure on everyone involved to prepare for potential fallout. Mainstream media outlets quickly amplified the story, fueling speculation and increasing pressure on all parties involved. Headlines focused on the FBI investigation and Von's connection, sending shockwaves across the hip-hop community. Podcasts, blogs, and social media personalities debated motives, timeline overlaps, and potential repercussions. Every detail, from small transactions to ambiguous posts, was dissected for meaning. The story had escalated far beyond its origin, a card issue, and now carried the weight of federal attention. Personal reputations, and the legacy of one of hip-hop's most influential figures. Industry reactions became more calculated. Lawyers worked tirelessly to map out every possible implication, while associates of both artists reportedly began distancing themselves from public commentary. analysts suggested that even conversations once considered insignificant could now hold legal or investigative weight. Observers noticed the growing silence from those closest to Durk and Von, interpreting it as acknowledgement of the seriousness of the investigation. Every delayed statement, deleted comment, or cautious response fueled speculation that the investigation was uncovering details far more explosive than anyone outside the circle realized. The internet buzzed with theories. Some fans speculated that financial anomalies could reveal hidden disputes, secret alliances, or undisclosed motives. Others focused on timeline discrepancies, correlating Durk's card activity with key events in Von's life. Every detail became a piece of a larger puzzle, hinting at a hidden network of relationships and transactions that could explain much of the unresolved tension surrounding Von's passing. The narrative was no longer about money. It was about uncovering a deeper truth that had remained hidden for years. By the end of the day, one thing was clear: this investigation wasn't slowing down. Every development, every insight, and every connection uncovered by the FBI added another layer of complexity. The story had evolved from a minor financial discrepancy into a potential revelation that could reshape how the public understood Lil Durk, King Von, and the intricate web connecting them. Fans and insiders alike were left in suspense, knowing that the next revelation could change everything. The tension surrounding Lil Durk's card issue had reached a fever pitch. What started as a financial mishap had now evolved into a federal investigation with potential implications linking him directly to King Von's circle. The hip-hop world was watching, analyzing, and debating every single development, but no platform captured the gravity of the situation like RapShock. Known for breaking exclusive stories and delivering in-depth analysis, RapShock became the epicenter of updates, piecing together information that the public couldn't get anywhere else. Their coverage didn't just report, it contextualized, connecting the dots between Durk, Von, and the unfolding federal inquiry in a way that made even industry insiders take notice. RapShock's analysis highlighted the gravity of the situation. Unusual financial transactions in Durk's accounts aligned with significant dates and events tied to Von's final months. These weren't just coincidences. Federal investigators reportedly noticed overlapping patterns in money flows, digital communications, and social interactions involving both artists and their associates. Every detail, no matter how small, was being meticulously examined, and RapShock broke it down for fans in a detailed segment, showing how timelines, locations, candidates created a complex web that couldn't be ignored. Fans across social media began revisiting old videos and posts, now interpreting them through the lens of RapShock's analysis. Clips of Von hinting at loyalty issues or caution in his relationships were resurfacing, while Durk's cryptic social media messages were dissected for potential hidden meaning. RapShock emphasized that these weren't random coincidences, but possibly pieces of a larger puzzle that the FBI was actively investigating. The narrative had shifted from a card issue to a complex story involving financial scrutiny, hidden alliances, and potential federal implications. Industry insiders reportedly became increasingly cautious after RapShock's coverage went viral. Legal teams scrambled to assess the scope of the investigation, while associates of both artists began distancing themselves from public statements. Sources suggested that even minor conversations and interactions, once considered insignificant, were now under scrutiny. RapShock highlighted that this level of federal attention could uncover truths previously buried, raising questions about loyalty, past decisions, and the inner workings of OTF and Von's network. The ripple effects were immediate. Social media exploded with speculation, timelines, and fan theories, each attempting to map Durk's card activity against Von's last months. Bloggers and YouTubers cited RapShock as the authoritative source, breaking down connections and raising questions about motives, pressures, and hidden dynamics. The public realized that what appeared to be a minor financial matter was actually a window into a much larger, More dangerous story? One that involved federal investigation, personal stakes, and the complex history between Durk and Von. RapShock. Also underscored a chilling possibility if the investigation continued. New evidence could surface linking Durk's financial activities to broader networks that impacted not only Von, but other key figures in the industry. The platform warned that this was no longer speculation. It was a developing legal and personal drama that could reshape narratives surrounding both artists. Fans and insiders alike were now on edge, realizing that every previous rumor, transaction, and interaction could suddenly become significant by the evening. RapShock's coverage had gone viral across every major platform. Clips of their breakdowns circulated on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Fans debated, dissected, and theorized, while the music industry quietly braced for potential fallout. The story had become multi-layered, involving not just Durk and Von, but their associates, management teams, and the unseen forces connecting them. RapShock's reporting made one thing abundantly clear. This was no longer a story anyone could ignore. And as the dust began to settle, one truth stood out. The public had only scratched the surface. Lil Durk's card issue had exposed a network of connections, coincidences, and secrets that were far more complex than anyone anticipated. RapShock made it clear that the investigation was ongoing, and the next revelations could rewrite the narrative entirely. For fans, the stakes had never been higher. And for insiders, every movement was now under scrutiny. The final takeaway was unmistakable. This story was far from over. Thanks to RapShock's detailed reporting, the world could see the gravity of the situation, the potential federal implications, and the shocking connections linking Lil Durk to King Von's circle. And one question loomed over everyone involved. How deep does this story go? And what else will the FBI uncover next? The countdown had begun, and one thing was certain: the hip-hop world would never look at Lil Durk, King Von, or OTF the same way again. The story isn't over. In fact, it's only getting started. Lil Durk's card issue has exploded into a federal investigation, and the shocking connection to King Von has sent the hip-hop world into overdrive. With RapShock breaking down every detail, fans are seeing the bigger picture: unusual transactions, hidden alliances, and secrets that could change everything we thought we knew about Durk, Von, and OTF. You can't afford to miss the next update. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay locked in with us as we cover every new revelation, leak, and insider report. This isn't just gossip. It's a story with federal stakes, industry implications, and a web of connections that fans have been trying to piece together for years. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think this investigation will uncover next? Stay tuned, because when the truth comes out, it's going to shake the hip-hop world to its core.